Have you ever had something eat you up so deeply that you wanted to say but never got to say? I remember a time when a close friend of mine I had a particular issue. They were doing something that got to me so bad, it was hurting me. But I couldn't just say it. And when I tried, it caused misunderstanding. So I stayed silent. Guess what? It exploded. And that fallout taught me one thing. Avoiding difficult conversation do not protect relationship. Actually, it weakens them. If you've ever struggled with having difficult conversations, to say what truly matters, stick around as we'll be going into the dynamics of how to have difficult conversations without losing the people you truly care about. Hi, I'm Seyi-Aliu, an NLP coach, a mentor. I help you gain clarity, give you direction in confusion, and help you step into the best version of yourself. I've been a coach for the last 6 years, mentored individuals all around the world, and given them clarity, and they've had many success stories to give even now. Today we'll be delving into the dynamics of difficult conversations, which can be very challenging, but it doesn't have to be. And here we'll be discussing how you can have difficult conversation, have tough words, but then pass your message across to people. We need to understand that difficult conversations are very, very important and they need to be heard if a relationship will go to the next level. And because we're humans, there are times when things will happen, fallouts will come, and we need to be grounded enough to be able to have those conversations. Before we delve into how to have tough conversations, difficult conversations, there are three things I'd like to put to you that are quite crucial in order to have your conversations with your friends, your partner, your wife, your husband, whoever it may be. There are three things you need to be very aware of. One, what happened? We're looking at what exactly happened, the content of what happened. Secondly, the feelings that emerged from what happened. That is the emotional impact it had on you. Third, the identity, how this has affected your self-image and how you want to converse all of these three dynamics in your conversations. I want you to do these three things. It's very crucial to prepare for your conversation. You need to prepare because you're having a very tough conversation. It's a difficult one. That's why it's called a difficult conversation. Prepare for it. You need to know why you want to have this conversation. There has to be a goal in mind. Why do you want to have this conversation? So you need to understand the perspective of both yourself and your other party, because you need to be very flexible as to how that in conversations you're just not focusing on yourself but on the other party whom you're having this conversation with. And thirdly, the emotional impact. Prepare for what this conversation might mean to you and the party. It is very crucial that you have these things in mind to help you prepare for your conversations. You're putting all the facts out, you're laying them out. If you need to write them on paper, write it down, think through it, think about it, make sure you have your facts right so that it will give you clarity and confidence when having such conversation. The next point is that you should avoid the blame game. I'll give you a very crucial point here. For anyone who would be mentally and emotionally stable, you need to have a mindset devoid of blame. As I'm saying, you're living above the blame game mindset. It is very, very important that you're not going into a conversation to blame the other party. It would never amount to anything substantial, especially if you want to get, to a common ground. Avoid the blame game. It is not necessary. If you're coming, make sure you're stating the fact, what happened, like I initially mentioned, and you're not blaming, the other party or even yourself. Make sure that you are not coming with that mindset. The next point is that you must recognize emotions. As you've understood the three dynamics of how to get into a conversation and prepare for a conversation, understand emotions. Difficult conversations will definitely spark up very negative emotions, which might not allow this conversation go on smoothly. You might have tears welling up, you can have an anger outburst, and it's very crucial that you understand the emotions that might spring up as a result of this tough conversation you want to have. You want to make sure that you are aware. And this helps you to understand your own emotions, because you don't want to get to that place where you're not emotionally stable, especially because you want to convey what had happened and how it's affecting you to the other party. What you need to do, which is very, very, very important, is to speak with clarity. Having tough conversation is one thing, and you modeling up your conversation is another thing. If you know you want to have a conversation, make sure that you are speaking clearly. And I'd advise that you use the I statement more than the you, because it helps that the conversation is not defensive. Because when you're saying, oh, you did this, you did that, your party is already defensive as to how that they can tackle what you're saying. But when you're saying, I feel this way, I'm not sure what you did stood well with me, it allows the other party be more empathetic to what you're saying, because they're seeing how that what happened is affecting them, rather than you saying you did this, you did that. They get offended immediately and they're defensive. So make sure you give more of the I statement. Let it be very clear, know what you want to say, and speak with such empathy, with clarity, and with confidence. The next point is that you listen actively. A lot of people just speak and do not listen. Please listen with such genuinity and attention. Now, I'm not just talking about hearing the words. I'm talking about understanding their emotions, understanding what you're saying, and know the true intent of what they're communicating to you. So you're just not hearing words and making it all about yourself. Understand what you're saying and what you're not saying. If you're very emotionally and mentally sound, to understand the hidden cues behind what you're saying, it will help foster a more wholesome conversation. Now, the next point you need to know is that you need to focus on the future. There's no point staying in the past, what had happened. In fact, when you actually talk about the past, it helps you to tackle future possibilities. So you're saying, oh, this has happened and we don't want it to repeat itself again. So what are we going to do? How do we move ahead? How do we go forward from what had happened? Not stay stuck in the past in your conversation and you keep wallowing about it. It is not going to be a solution proven conversation, because you're stuck in what had happened and you don't want to move forward. It will definitely irk that conversation. So you want to be sure you're not stuck in the past, but you're moving forward. Another point you need to know is that you need to separate the intent from the impact. So just because somebody did something that wasn't their intention, just because someone did what was harmful to you, doesn't mean it was intentional. You need to understand that because it hurt you doesn't mean that it was intentional. And that point is that just because they did something that felt was good does not mean it is good. You need to clarify these things with such confidence. Let them know where they were wrong and how you took it, and how that you can both have a common ground, so that the impact and the intent do not clash with each other. So separate that. Let them know that this is what happened and how it affected you, and how you want them going forward to approach that conversation. And finally, last but not the least point is that have a perspective that gives grace to people in your conversation. Be gracious first to yourself and to the other party. Know full well that this conversation hits its toll on you and your other party. So give grace to them. You might not always come to a common ground initially, but having such grace gives room for growth, for improvement, such that these conversations can be had. And it doesn't have to be a one-time thing. You can always have your conversations by and large. If you've had that tough conversation and you were both able to find the problem and the solution, it might not all come together at one point or at that initial time, but going forward, you both see where you need to work. On the final note, you need to be very aware that the conversation you had in your heart before speaking with the other party, they were not a part of it. So please don't go into conversations like that, being defensive as though they were in your heart when you're having that conversation with yourself. You need to be factual, very plain and clear with your conversation. A wise man once said, in having difficult conversations, truth without grace is mean. Grace without truth is meaningless. But truth and grace, both combined together, brings healing to the soul. Because you can win an argument or win a very tough conversation, but lose the people you love. Your take home today is to have that conversation with such clarity and confidence that will bring about a better relationship. See you in my next video.